Today's video is dedicated to all of you out there that are insecure or concerned about facial symmetry. It's a widely known belief that is actually backed up by research and evidence that the more symmetrical your face is, the more attractive you're perceived as. So then, what are some of the styling techniques that we can use to make our faces appear more symmetrical? In this video, I'm going to provide you with some easy to follow solutions that can help with facial symmetry both short-term and long-term. Not only are these tips based on facial proportions, just like my usual content, but also as somebody that has been extremely self-conscious in the past about facial symmetry, I'm going to be sharing my own personal experience and the methods that I found to be helpful. So if you're interested in all of this, then make sure to stay tuned till the end. Facial symmetry is actually the #1 concern that I see many of my clients bring up in their survey responses. And let me tell you a little secret. 90% of you that have mentioned facial symmetry as a concern to me, your faces are not that asymmetrical. For most of you, if you didn't mention it yourself in the survey, I probably wouldn't even have called it out as something significant because some level of asymmetry in the face is normal. We're human beings and our faces cannot be 100% symmetrical. If you look online, you'll find that even celebrities who we think are so gorgeous and perfect, they look drastically different when their faces are perfectly symmetrical. And I think with the TikTok filter trends, topics like facial symmetry have really come to light in recent years, like the inverted filter that came out a couple years ago, for example. That filter has really beat down some people's self-esteem a lot. But the truth is, you're not any uglier when your face is inverted. It's just that you see yourself in the mirror every single day, and that's the only way you're used to seeing your face. And when you see the inverted image of your face, it just looks strange because you're not used to it. If we look at these celebrities, for example, when their faces are inverted, they definitely look a little different than what we're used to seeing. But that doesn't mean we see them as less attractive. They just look a bit different, that's all. We're just extra harsh on ourselves because we know our face is the best and we're usually our own worst critics. And for those of you that don't see a huge difference in your face, whether it's inverted or not, that's great for you and I'm sure the self-esteem boost is very validating. But for the rest of us, which is the vast majority of people, finding the inverted image of your face awkward and weird or even ugly, that is completely normal. But just know that it doesn't actually make you any less attractive than you are. Also, if you're not a fan of having your photos taken, like me, this unfamiliar feeling of seeing the inverted image of your face also explains why you don't like seeing yourself in a photo. But me saying all of this is not going to change your opinion overnight. So in the meantime, what are some of the things that we can do with our hair and makeup to make the asymmetry in our faces a little less noticeable? These are actually really simple tips, and I'm gonna start with a tip for your hair using Rosie Huntington-Whiteley and Kat Graham as examples. Both of these ladies are absolutely stunning, but like I said, nobody's face is perfectly symmetrical, and if we look at their faces closely, we can see that they do have some noticeable asymmetry in their faces as well. With Rosie, the asymmetry is the most noticeable in her eyebrows and eye area, and a little bit in her overall facial outline as well. And with Kat, the asymmetry is especially noticeable in her lower facial outline because the alignment of her chin is tilted to one side. Now, the best way to minimize the visual effect of any asymmetry in your face using your hair is to avoid a middle part. A middle part brings the gaze straight down the middle of the face, and it creates a very definitive separation between the two sides of the hair and the face. So if you have any noticeable features that are different between the two sides, a middle part tends to highlight that more. A middle part usually creates a very symmetrical shape in your hair as well, so that in contrast with your face can also highlight any noticeable differences even more so. Compared to that, a side part breaks the symmetry in the hair and it works more harmoniously with the asymmetry of your facial features or bone structure. Especially with the very deep side part, your hair ends up covering the entire facial outline on one side, so this is a particularly good style if the asymmetry in your bone structure or your facial outline is on the more severe side. I know this sounds like a really simple trick, but it can actually make a huge difference in how our eyes visually recognize these small but noticeable variances within our features. Now, if you still want to wear a middle part, but you're concerned about the asymmetry becoming more noticeable, I'd recommend you to use a more natural or less uniform shape in the part itself. So you can have your part slightly off to the side instead of smack down the middle. And you can also use a more curved or a zigzag shape in the part to prevent your eyes from following the straight line of the part all the way down the center of the face. Now, how about with makeup? What can we do to minimize the appearance of an asymmetrical face or feature? And this tip actually came from one of the comments from my Don't Wear Red Lips video, so thank you to the commenter who pointed this fact out. Let me use Natalie Dormer as an example this time. Natalie has a very unique shape to her lips that makes her lips and smile quite asymmetrical. And if you remember from my Don't Wear Red Lips video, I mentioned that red lips tend to draw a lot more emphasis to the lower face. So if you have any notable features in the lower part of your face, a red lip color is gonna highlight that more. In Natalie's case, a bold lip color brings more emphasis to the lip area, and it tends to highlight the asymmetrical shape of her lips and smile more than when she wears a more natural shade on her lips. So the general rule of thumb that I'm trying to explain here is that you should avoid using a bold color or using techniques that emphasize any features that might enhance the asymmetry more. But I'm speaking strictly about how symmetrical a face appears. With Natalie Dormer, I actually think that the unique shape of her lips and her smile is one of the features that really sets her apart, and her lips add a lot of character to her face. So even if the asymmetry of the face gets a little more highlighted, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing for Natalie. Like I said, everyone has some level of asymmetry in their faces, and whether you choose to offset it with your hair and makeup, or you choose to highlight it more because it adds more character to your face, that choice is completely up to you. Alright, so now I'm gonna talk a little bit about a long-term solution to facial symmetry, and this is a method that I've been using personally. So to share a bit of my own experience, I actually have been very self-conscious about the asymmetry in my face for quite some time, and I got hyper fixated on this topic a few months prior to my wedding because, like I said, I hate having my photos taken, but with a wedding, I obviously can't avoid that. And photos are what last, so I was just very worried about how my face would appear in my wedding photos. So while I was doing my research on how to correct facial asymmetry, I came across facial rejuvenation acupuncture. For those of you that don't know what it is, I know it kind of sounds intense, but apparently it's something that's been practiced for thousands of years in East Asia as a beauty treatment. So how facial acupuncture works is that the needles help with removing any blockage in this path called meridians, where the energies flow all throughout your body and your face. And by doing so, you're allowing sufficient blood and energy to flow into your face so your skin can be properly nourished. And by increasing the circulation, you're also allowing your muscles to relax. I mean, as you probably know, asymmetry in the face can have many different causes, but it's through activities like sleeping on your side, or bad posture, or chewing too much on one side. You know, it's developed by all of these habits that you have that might overwork a muscle in a certain area of your face, and that's what causes an imbalance of muscle activity within the face and what causes the asymmetry. So by allowing the circulation to flow and letting your muscles relax, your muscles find that balance in shape that can help with lessening the level of asymmetry in your face. And I ended up finding all this information through a clinic in Vancouver called Greenleaf Acupuncture and Herb Clinic. So I first started out with attending the clinic on a weekly basis, but that's actually because I alternated between facial acupuncture and automatic MTS or microneedling, which is another service that they also provide. So realistically, the facial acupuncture was bi-weekly, and I think after about 8 weeks or 4 sessions, I definitely started seeing some noticeable differences, not only in the asymmetry, but also just on the overall condition of my skin. I mean, it was partially the microneedling something that helped, of course, but facial acupuncture itself also has a lot of added benefits like increased collagen production and lessening the visibility of your fine lines, less puffiness in the mornings, and just the overall tightness of the skin I really saw a huge improvement on. And now it's been a couple years since my wedding, but I still go to the clinic for these treatments, not every week, but just once a month as maintenance. So this is something that I do as an alternative to treatments like Botox because it's cheaper and safer and more natural. And if any of you live in the Lower Mainland area and are interested in a less invasive procedure than Botox to relax your facial muscles, I highly encourage you to check this place out. They also treat so many different conditions other than cosmetics related conditions like weight loss, digestive problems, fertility, etc. So I highly recommend this place. This is not a paid ad or a sponsorship, but I'm just doing this because I really have benefited a lot from the procedure personally. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link to their website for you to check out in the description below. I think for me, the true long-term solution to facial symmetry was a combination between a psychological aspect of finally realizing and accepting that none of our faces are actually perfectly symmetrical, but also by identifying what the actual cause was. It turns out that I'm not only a side sleeper, but I also chew most of my food on one side that caused this side of my masseter muscle to develop a lot more than the other side. And once I understood why, it was much easier for me to implement ways to fix the problem at the root. I consciously tried to chew on the opposite side now, and I got a firmer mattress, so sleeping on my side is not as easy anymore, and naturally I sleep more on my back now, and I'm generally just trying to be more aware of my posture in my day-to-day. And continuing with facial acupuncture is also another way for me to not only deal with the asymmetry, but also taking care of the overall condition of my skin in general. So these are all the corrective steps that I've taken as a long-term solution. And the short-term tips using your hair and makeup, I've already talked about them earlier in the video, but I think with facial symmetry, I actually believe that it's partially a representation of your overall health and your current habits as well. So I hope this video gives you a chance to think not only about how to offset the asymmetry in your face visually, but also a chance for you to really consider what the actual cause is and how you can get to the bottom of the issue by understanding the root of the problem. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, stay unique and stay gorgeous.